Hey, Shalom and Shalom. Want to start off schools by giving all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Kodash, that belongs to the apostles of Great Millstone, and honors you brothers in the work of the Most High in truth and in sincerity. This is a quick one. Something I saw, just thought I'd do a video on it, right? It basically uh, made me think of a particular precept. Before I carry on, right? Yahweh, that's the true name of whom the world ignorantly calls God, Yahweh, Jehovah. His true name is Yahweh, and his son's true name is Yahweh Shai, right? And so continuing on, right? I saw this yesterday. It made me think of the precept, which I'll get in a second. Right, I'm not gonna say the word, trigger the senses, but it is kind of futile because what do you call it? These sensors have what's referred to as computer vision, so they can still, regardless of whether you say the word or anything, if it's on your screen, it can bloody still read read the words in it. But says those are legal because it cuts the black community population down to just under half of what it normally would be. Sex leads to biological reproduction, though cases have dropped, still around 500,000 per year in the US, right? And it made me think of this precept here, right? I'm gonna start from verse 15 actually. It says Exodus 1:15 says, and the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of one was Shiphrah and the name of the other Puah. And he said, when ye do the office of a midwife to a Hebrew woman, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. Right? In fact, now I need to I actually need to read into them, but more Slakia. It says Exodus 1 and 9, no 1 and 8. It says now there now there arose up a new king over Egypt which knew not Yahweh Sap. Right, so you say Joseph in the Lashawan Kodash, right, the holy tongue. Says, and he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more mighty than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. And all of these policies that enable that to happen, right? Those are wise policies. Why are they wise? Because of the way that they have been packaged and shipped to these to these women. Okay, because at the end of the day, he knows what he's doing. It's the same formula, right? Going back all the way to the beginning. This is Genesis 3, right? It says, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahweh power had made, right? It's referencing, what we would call now Edomites, right? These so-called white people. Okay, it says was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahweh had made. Right, it says, and he said unto the woman, yea, hath God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. It says, and the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, the Most High hath said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest ye die. Right, now it's not talking about literal fruits, it's talking about these philosophies. Okay, so then the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. Right? So the serpent then lied to her, right? And this is the thing. Because she didn't die straight away, she was like, oh, yeah, no, yeah, it wasn't true. But hey, that's how this devil moves, right? This devil likes to tell you ain't gonna die, right? But you just die further on down the line. She did die, right? Because, we're supposed to live forever, right? And, when, we're in the kingdom and our bodies are made perfect, right? We will live forever. All right, so this is that same thing that is happening with ego into the woman, because as the scripture says, right? Fucking spell. It says, 1 Peter 3:7 says, likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as the weaker vessel, as unto the weaker vessel, and thus being heirs together of grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered, right? So it's one of them ones where, as a husband, you kind of understand that your woman ain't on no bloody level, right? She's just a weaker vessel, right? But it basically also means that they're easier, more susceptible to the wiles of the devil, which once again, that's why he has taken crafty counsel, and the main proponents of this are these degenerate females, right? Because as a elder Ramah, from our camp says, you can't even call these them women, man, because what a woman means, to help, right? Servant rather, right? And they ain't doing that. They're serving their own bellies. It says so back in Exodus 1:10, where it says, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. And it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land, right? And he just basically wants to get rid of Jake, just period. Right? Read Ezekiel 35:5 speaks about how this man hath had a perpetual hatred against the children of Israel. Okay. As verse 11 says, therefore, so therefore they did set up over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And that's it. That's the spirit, because you can't do anything against what the Most High wants. You can do nothing against the truth, right? But for the truth, if you will, if the Lord wants, and why is that? Because if the Lord wants something, to happen in a particular way, then guess what's going to happen in that way? Which is why it's futile what He is trying to do. Well, it's futile, because guess what? In the kingdom, man, hey, here is doing all this, try to get rid of the children of Israel. But in the kingdom, man, we just gonna be multiplying, okay? And ain't no Edomite gonna try to stop us either, right? This is verse 13 now. Did I read verse 12? I think I maybe read part of it. So I'll read it again. It says, and the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor, right? Like, so now you see it now, man. He's just got Jake in subjection at the moment, man. And worse yet, he's got them in mental subjection. It says, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. Right? Just looked up that word there, better. Marah, yeah. Just looks like better, yeah. This is verse 15. It says, and the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives of the name. Oh yeah, of course, yeah, that makes sense. Thus the bitter herbs. Yeah. It says Exodus 1:15, and the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah and the name of the other Puah. And he said, when you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, right, then ye shall kill him. Right, but if it be a daughter, then she shall live. And this is the thing, he will be like, oh, these other nations, these past nations, they were so primitive, they were so basic, but this time he's doing the exact same thing, right? He's doing the exact same thing, well, on an industrial scale, right? Because in these days, what was promoted is free sex, right? Yeah, everyone fuck everyone, right? And live consequence free. Don't want the baby, yeah, just come to my clinics, I'll kill him for you, right? That's what this man is a proponent of. But it adds up and it links up. Why? Because the scripture says that this man is as death. As verse 17 says, but the midwives feared the Most High and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men and children alive. right? And the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, why have you done this thing and saved the men children alive? It says, the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively and are delivered ere the midwives come in unto them, right? So basically lied to Pharaoh, right? Because they didn't want to sin against the Most High, right? And this is it, right? Because that's ultimately the primary thing. Scriptures say this in Proverbs 1, right? It's Proverbs 1 and 7. The fear of Yahweh is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction, right? So, fearing the Most High, that's really the important thing, right? Scripture says, I'll just quote it, fear, don't fear him that hath, power to kill flesh, but fear him who hath power to kill body and soul in hell. Basically speaking about, fear the Most High who can, reincarnate you all jacked up and fucked up, right? Don't fear man, okay? Which is this, it's just what you see here. Like you hear some women say, "Oh, I didn't want to get the abortion, but I was scared what my mom would do." Hey, don't be scared what your mom will do. Be scared what the Most High will do to you for that act of murder, right? Because that's what it is, right? He can tell you whatever he wants to tell you, but we're telling you what the Most High says. This is Exodus 21 and 20. And if a man smite his servant or his maid, this is the one I want, verse 22. If men strive and hurt a woman with child, so that her fruit depart from her, and yet no mischief follow, he shall be surely punished, right? According as a woman's husband will lay upon him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. And if any mischief follow, then thou shalt give life for life, right? So you got a pregnant woman, right? The scripture here is just referred to it as a life, okay? Now, of course, people are like, oh yeah, but that's in the book, oh whatever. Okay, well, scripture says the fool hath said in his heart there is no God, right? And then when the Most High is judging you, yeah, you argue with the Most High whether it was life or not. Okay, it says eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, strike for strike. And let's see what precepts we have here. This is Wisdom 12 and 5. It says, and also those merciless murderers of children and devourers of man's flesh, and the feast of blood, right? Yeah, nowadays it can be used in this context also, okay? Because, Paul spoke about not only, there's certain times when precepts were, referring to a specific thing, but, can also be used, in different instances, right? See what Lamentations 4 and 3 says. It says, even the sea monsters draw out the breast, they give suck to their young ones. The daughter of my people has become cruel, like the ostriches in the wilderness. Yeah, because when you look at some of these Israelite women, man, and you feel for their children. The kid would be like the child would be like 3, 4 years old, struggling to walk, right? But she's shouting at him, hurry up. And you just look at that child, you pity that child, man. Okay. And then let's not get into how much they have uh gone into this, right? Started buying into this thing, man. It was in 2012 in New York. More Jake babies, were aborted than born, man. Okay, this is Psalms 83. I'll just read this and I'll finish up. It says, keep not thou silence, O God, hold thy peace and be not still, O power. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. And this is it, they've taken crafty counsel, right? They have found ways where they can, make Jake go off, right? And to keep Jake in this dumb, low vibration state. It says, verse 4, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Okay. And, the longer, what you call it, the E almost got away with it. But guess what? The spirit of Yahweh Shem Shai, right, came upon, Elder Abba Bivens, right? And then now the Spirit came upon, all the great men, that came, after that, right? And then now Israel knows who they are. Some don't believe it, some believe it, right? But we don't care about those that are on the fence, right? The elect, no. And that's the main thing. Okay. So yeah, like I said, that was just on this. Right? The only reason they're legal, they are legal, which is it because Habakkuk 2 says this man is as death. Right. So just to take out Jake, he'll would you call it, he'll push this agenda and legalize it everywhere. So that Edomite women be going there, doing it too. And they be getting down to, in them clinics, killing their babies. They be getting down in there, right? But as always, laws all does edify. Till next time we say, Shalom.